In this video, I'm going to be going through a whole masterclass, so to speak, on how you use the sourcing software for Amazon FBA called Nepeto. Now, the few major points we're going to be covering are their online arbitrage retailers, their live search, their storefront scanner. We're going to be going through their master search, their CSV scanner, and so much more, because ultimately Nepeto has really come out of the gates over the last year or so at this point since I'm recording this video, and they have made some major waves in the sourcing processes for a lot of sellers. And specifically, I train people on how to utilize Nepeto, as well as how to use tactical arbitrage, how to do manual sourcing with the Keepa data product finder, and so many other methods. But Nepeto is a great way to get started. And even if you're a beginning seller or a much more experienced seller, no matter what, you have use cases for utilizing Nepeto in your business. And so I want to make sure to cover every single way that we can currently use it. Now, one of the great things with Nepeto is they're constantly iterating and coming out with more and more stuff. And so hopefully in the future, I'll make another video on another masterclass, because there's new features that we can utilize. But today we're going to be going through all the major ways that you can source with Nepeto, and I'm really excited to get into it. Now, before we get into that, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jimmy Smith, and I've built and scaled multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses online. Been selling on Amazon since December of 2015, and I've trained thousands of other sellers to do the same. And I really make these videos because I want to make online selling simple for those that are seeking financial freedom. And if you're somebody that's looking for free content, free training, be sure to check out the other videos on my YouTube channel here, or head over to askjimmysmith.com/free training, where I have 30 days of training that I'll send you to your email inbox. Now, let's go ahead and get into the training. So as you can see right now, I have the Nepeto dashboard pulled up, and we're going to be going through all the major ways you can source with this tool. Now, ultimately, there are going to be a couple features that I'm going to leave out, and it's really just because I use all the ones we're going to be covering today, and I don't use some of the ones that I'm not going to be covering as much today. Now, I have gone through each one. I could talk about each one, but really, I want to focus on the things that I think have the most direct impact in the majority of sellers that are going to be watching this video. So the first one we're going to talk about is online arbitrage retailers. We're also going to discuss their live search feature and how you use that, the storefront scanner, the Nepeto master search, and the CSV scanner. Now, the few items that we won't be utilizing will be Amazon to Walmart products. I think that's a video for another day for those of you that want to do Walmart selling. There's also Amazon to Amazon flips and be the only seller. Now, these are good opportunities that you can check out, but for the majority of people, it's just going there and checking out the different ASINs and products that they're matching up for you and seeing and analyzing those products, really. Whereas these have different functionalities for how you utilize them and how you can kind of maximize them in your business. Now, if you're somebody that's interested in checking out Nepeto, I will be using some of their features that are only on their master plan, but I do have a 50% off discount for you. If you head over to askjimmysmith.com/Nepeto, you can see the link right up here, and we'll make sure to put it in the description for you. There's 50% off if you sign up for their master plan or any of their other plans as well. You'll get access to all of these other features and functionalities that I have here. Now, before we get into the online arbitrage retailers, they also have a scanning app and profit calculator that you can download. There's so much more that I'm actually not going to be covering on this video because I want to make sure that I'm covering how you source with this tool. But they also have opportunities for sourcing with distributors and wholesale, and they have Telegram link here. So ultimately, what I want to tell you is that with Nepeto, I personally avoid a lot of the distributors and wholesale. And the reason is because it's hard to tell how Amazon would view those distributors or wholesale suppliers. And ultimately, I like to focus on things that I know. And I know what type of stores that Amazon will accept. I know what types of stores are authorized retailers for some of these products that we're going to be going through, which is why I like the online arbitrage opportunities here. But you can still use this for wholesale, specifically the CSV scanner, if you're just trying to evaluate a whole list of products. So let's go ahead and get into the online arbitrage retailers. This is section 1. Now, there's a couple great things that I like with this online arbitrage retailers section. And the first one is that they bring back a bunch of products that are matched up from Amazon in the actual supplier store. So you can see here, for instance, this product is the Amazon listing, and Hy-Vee is where you can buy this product. This has a $4.82 profit, a 48% return on investment. Now, you can't just go through and buy all of these products, and because they still require some evaluation. Now, a couple things that I do recommend doing first, though, before you start going through all of these, is you want to utilize some of their filters. Now, for me, I like to filter out whatever categories that you don't want to be selling in. And so what I'll do is I'll come up to this section here for category, click on select all, and then I'll just remove the ones that I don't want. Now, I don't want Amazon devices and accessories. I don't want Amazon renewed. I don't want appliances. I love arts, crafts, and sewing. Automotive is great. Baby can be good if you're ungated in it, but if you are gated, I'm just going to go ahead and remove that because there are a lot of sellers that are gated. Beauty and personal care, I'll leave it, even though many people can be gated in that as well. But depending on where you're at, I think this is helpful. Books, I actually don't personally sell, so I remove that. that. CDs and vinyl I remove. Camera and photo products I typically am not selling. Same with cell phones and accessories. Climate Pledge friendly. I'll remove clothing, shoes, and jewelry, but Nepeto has a lot of clothing, shoes, and jewelry opportunities that come up, specifically shoes and different clothing items. And so if you are somebody comfortable selling clothing, shoes, and jewelry, then it's a great use case to be able to find a lot of good products there. I'm going to remove that one. Same with collectible coins. I'll remove computers and accessories and electronics. You can see I'm removing a lot of different categories here, and it's just because I want to find the right products that I want to sell. Now, if you love selling electronics, then go for it. But ultimately, I avoid electronics because I've had some issues with transparency codes and other things in the past. And so it's really up to you and your business, but this is how you can start to use it. Grocery and gourmet food, I'll leave. Handmade products, I'll remove. Health and household, I'll leave. Home and kitchen is good. Industrial and scientific, kitchen and dining. Movies and TV, I'll remove. Musical instruments, I like. Office products, I'll remove our brands. Patio, lawn and garden. Pet supplies, I'll leave. Software, I'll remove. Sports and outdoors, I'll leave. Tools and home improvement. Toys and games. Unique finds, I'll remove. And I don't do video games either, but there are some great opportunities if you're ungated in video games that you can check out. So these are the categories that I leave. It's probably about 50-50. I leave arts, crafts and sewing, automotive, beauty and personal care, grocery and gourmet food, health and household, home and kitchen, industrial and scientific, kitchen and dining, musical instruments, office products, patio, lawn and garden, pet supplies, sports and outdoors, tools and home improvement, and toys and games. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on save there. Now it's going to already start filtering out all of those results for me to stay within those parameters, but I also want to go another level deeper here. Now there's a couple different methods of sourcing, and one of the things that I teach in my Evergreen Sourcing System program and my higher level business building legends community is you want to build up a database of leads, and those leads can be anything that's above break even, because right now you may not make any money on it, but in a couple months it may actually be profitable because the price changes, or maybe you find a discount code or something like that. So if you're sourcing for leads where you're trying to build up that database, then I recommend making sure that the return on investment here is over 0% ROI. Typically they're only going to be pulling back positive returns on investment anyway, but if you're looking for replenishable products or things you can buy now, then maybe set a minimum value of 30% here. Ultimately it's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and put 0 because I'm caring about leads. And the reason this is important is because if I can take leads and keep my own database of products somewhere, I personally use Replen Dashboard, but other sellers use 3P Mercury or sourceflow.io/CheddarSoft. That's what it used to be called. But if you can store up that database of leads, then in 2 or 3 months, you might have thousands of leads that you can go through on your own that you've been tracking, and the software has been able to keep up with that data and if it's profitable or not. You may find some things that aren't currently profitable, or maybe they don't hit your metrics. Maybe it's at a 24% return on investment. Your minimum is a 40%, but you've saved this data elsewhere. And so there is an opportunity that it could go up to 40% in the future. You buy it, send it in, make some good money. So that's why I put the ROI at 0%, at least from a sourcing standpoint, because the more data you have that's yours, that you have in your own software tool, the more power you have to find products on a consistent basis. You can wake up to new leads. And again, these are the things that I train on elsewhere. But ultimately, that is the second filter that I like to use. You could set up sales ranks as well if you want to ensure that it's under a certain sales rank. I personally don't care as much about that because I like to evaluate products as I come across them. You can also say, hey, I want to make sure that there are at least a minimum of 2 FBA offers. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that as well, just for making sure that it's not a private label type product or any type of an item that I wouldn't want to purchase. Additionally, there are more filters right here you can check out. And so you can enter in coupons if you're looking at a particular supplier. You can enter in the amount of profit that you would like to see. You can enter in Amazon's price. You can sort it from a BSR or an MOQ, which is minimum order quantity, price, the profit, the ROI, etc. I don't really sort it by anything. And then you can also save these filters if you'd like. Now, I personally do include the FBA fees here in Amazon's fees because I plan to do FBA. If you're someone though that's doing fulfilled by merchant only, then you can remove this because you're not going to have the FBA fees anymore. You're going to be just looking for FBM opportunities. Also, there's show NA and show out of stock online. Personally, I don't like to keep those. And then filter out third-party sellers on Walmart. I'm actually going to do that so that way I'm not pulling back any Walmart products that are sold by a third-party seller, just because Amazon typically doesn't like to get invoices from a third-party seller on Walmart, right? Also, if you have any sales tax, you can up that if you're paying 10% sales tax because of where you live or whatever percentage it is, or if you have a prep center, it's at 0%. Right now, I've got it at 0% based on the prep center. And then you can exclude brands if you'd like to do that. You can upload them so that way you can just automatically exclude any brands that you don't want to sell. Maybe you just got gated in Nike or Adidas or something like that, and you want to remove those. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. Finally, up here, there is a must have the buy box. I don't use that, or a no buy box. box if you're looking for opportunities with no buy box. Filter out if Amazon is one of the sellers currently. If you're okay selling against Amazon, then you can leave this unchecked. But if you don't want to sell against Amazon, then you can check this box. And then there's no private label. So this would require that there's over 4 offers on a listing. I personally try to avoid that one, and I just use the Amazon offers and put a minimum of 2 FBA, but it's up to you how you'd like to do it. And then we also have filter suppliers. So if there are suppliers that you trust, then go through and just select the ones that you trust, or deselect the ones you don't trust or don't know. Like I don't know Alex and Alexa. Now, that doesn't mean that they're a bad supplier. They could be great, but I don't know it. So I'm just actually going to X out that. So that way I'm not going to be utilizing that supplier. And what it does is it removes it so that hopefully I don't have to come back in the future and have to remove it again. So ultimately, this is going to filter out the suppliers that I don't know, like, or trust. And so it's up to you to figure out what those look like, which ones those would be. I don't know All Star Health either. I personally recommend going through anytime that you're going to buy from a supplier that you don't know and reach out to the brand and see if they are an authorized distributor of that brand. It does take some extra time, but usually you will get a response from customer support. Let's say you're buying a vitamin product from All Star Health, and you reach out to that vitamin brand and you say, hey, is All Star Health an authorized place for me to buy your products? I found a product there I'd like to purchase. And if they respond with an email that says, yes, they are authorized, then cool, you're good to get going. Save that information. So that way, if Amazon ever files some sort of a complaint against you, or someone does, that you have that documentation from the brand that this was an authorized distributor of theirs. But if they say no, then avoid it, right? And so ultimately that's a couple extra steps that you can take, but it does help protect your account. And that's very important because you want to be only buying from authorized distributors and suppliers, okay? Now I'm actually just going to save this for now, and we can go through all of the different results and kind of what this looks like. But once you set up the suppliers that you want, then you know that you're going to be buying from the authorized ones that you want to see. You're going to be only seeing things in the categories you want to see. You're going to be seeing the items with the minimum ROI that you're looking for, etc. Now there are a couple great things that you can do. So if you're using a tool like Replen Dashboard or 3P Mercury, you can actually export this whole page of items. Now it's only going to be one page at a time. I believe there's about 50 items on here. Now the problem is if you just export all of these and they're mismatches or they're not really the best leads, then you're going to have some lower quality leads. But if you're using a tool like Replen Dashboard to monitor them, then ultimately it's just filling your stockpile of leads. But you would just export this list and then you could import that product list into Replen Dashboard or whatever other lead tracking tool that you're currently using. Now, if you're just sourcing, you're trying to start your sourcing for the day. What I love about sourcing is there are 1,000,001 ways that you can go just from one product. So for instance, let's take a look at this one. So I'm going to open up the Amazon link here. This is Starbucks, it looks like. So you'd have to be ungated in the Starbucks brand. If you were gated in that brand, then you could have uploaded that list that says, hey, I'm gated in this brand and I don't want to see any items like this. So this is currently at $8.99. Sometimes there will be some issues with the price, or maybe it's a little bit behind on what the actual price is, or it was a coupon, or it's a local deal. And so it won't always be 100% accurate, but it does give you a good start, especially if you're trying to get going on your sourcing. Now here we've got it at $8.99. It's the Starbucks medium roast. Looks like 3.17 ounces. This does say store pickup or same day delivery, depending on where you are located. Now if I come here, this is currently, I'm going to remove this custom cost there, but at $17.49 is the FBA seller price, I believe. It does look like Amazon Fresh has it at a much lower price point, but not everyone has access to Amazon Fresh depending on where they live, so they may be seeing a $17.49 price. Let me make sure this is the exact correct listing. Medium roast, premium instant smooth and balanced, premium instant smooth and nutty medium roast. So it looks like a little bit of different packaging. This does also say up to 35 cups, where this says up to 40 cups. Okay, so in this case, this is why it's important for us to make sure that we are verifying this. This would actually be a mismatch in this case, and even if the UPCs are exactly correct, these 40 cups would kind of throw that off. Now if this was the same at $8.99, then you'd be able to go through and kind of see if this was something you'd want to purchase. Right now it's 20% return on investment, $1.83 profit, and we'd be looking at a fairly steady price point here. It did go up to $14.47, and then now it's up to $17.49. So even if this was a 100% match, I probably would avoid it because the $14.49 price point is pretty much the steady price for FBA sellers. Okay. Now, sometimes right now we've got kind of a higher price. So this is where Nepeto, you can kind of get a little bit, behind on. Anytime you're using a sourcing tool, whether it's Nepeto or Tactical Arbitrage or something else, you may see that there's a price spike and it's going to pull up a listing that actually isn't something that you'd want to purchase based on the typical price points. So this one I would avoid anyway. Now, I do want to show you a couple things though that you can actually do even with a lead that is currently a mismatch and with a lead that isn't something that I would even buy if it was a match because of the price points. And so we're going to get to that in just a minute. So let me go back through. I'm going to show you some other things within this OA retail suppliers here, and we're going to look for something that is a match currently. What I do want to let you know, one of the great things about Nepeto is they're actually incentivized to make sure that there are no mismatches. And so you can see here, 0 out of 50 mismatches found. So users who report 50 true mismatches or out of stock items will receive a free subscription. I think that's just for 1 month, not 100% sure, but ultimately, if you find mismatches, then you can report them. So in this case, because I found a mismatch, I'm going to go ahead and click on report a mismatch here, and I'm going to click OK because it's just letting us know, and I'm going to click that because ultimately it was, right? If we're looking at the Walgreens, this says up to 35 cups right there in the corner. On Amazon here, it shows 40 cups. And so even though it's the same exact 3.17 ounce tin, the actual product itself does not match, at least the packaging. So I don't know why with the same net weight for each of these products that these cups would be different. Maybe Starbucks changed how they want that to taste, or maybe they changed the scoop size. Whatever it is, they probably just want people to buy it sooner, and so they changed the scoop size. As I'm looking at that, to me that would be a mismatch. It's up to them though to decide if it is or not. And so then the next thing here is we're going to look at here, it looks like tools and home improvement. Now we can actually hover over the Keepa graphs here. You can also click to expand if you want to see even more data. So I can see the Keepa graph pulled up. I can see the offer count that they currently have, and you can actually spread that out if you want to see a shorter or longer time period. Additionally, you can load data. So I'm going to go ahead and just click that so it loads. What it's doing is it's going to pull this data, I believe, from Keepa at this point and give you some more information on, the buy box winners and other things. So right now there is one dominant seller on here at 67% of the listing. We've got out of stock 2.1%, no buy box 16.2%, and then another seller that has 14%. I don't really use these much at all because I like to do my own analysis based off the Keepa graphs on the Amazon listing itself. But you can see the average price, you can see the amount of reviews, customer ratings, anything that you'd like to see, like IP issues detected, all of that you can check out on Nepeto itself. So if you like using everything on one screen, you may not even have to go to the Amazon listing pages to check them out at all. But let's go ahead and see. These kind of have different packaging here, but let's see if they are the same. And so we will go through these first two and see what they look like. And then again, I'm going to come back to this mismatch listing and show you how we can use that listing for our advantage with another feature of Nepeto in just a minute. This says RESM 9X2 is the blade here. It says a 5-pack. Let's see if that's the same exact manufacturer's code. RESM 9X2 5-pack 9-inch. Yep, looks like it's about the same. The packaging looks a little bit different. It says 8x10 TPI. Yep. Okay, so to me this looks the exact same. I could be wrong. I would want to do a little bit more digging just to ensure, but it looks like the SKU itself is correct. So I would trust that in this case. So right now this is selling a 5-pack at $20.99 on Amazon. It looks like there is a third-party seller currently selling it, and it's currently on this Hartman variety at $9.03, and it shows that they do have 50 in stock. So we could actually buy this at $9.03, and we would make $3.85 here. The ROI, return on investment, is 43%, and so to me this would be something I would be interested in. Now I am using AZ Insight by ASINZen as my profit calculator. I do pay for this. You can check it out at askjimmysmith.com/ASINZen if you want to check out the tool itself. There are plenty of other profit calculators out there like RevSeller and other things though that can be free if you want to utilize those. And like I said, Nepeto has one. So if you sign up for Nepeto, they do have a profit calculator. I've just always liked ASINZen. You see here that there was an unverified IP claim back in 2020. Okay, so that doesn't concern me. I just wanted you to see that that is something that is populating. Now in this, I'm going to scroll down to the Keepa chart, and we can see that over the last about 6 months or so, Amazon has been off this listing. They were selling it at about $19 $19 for a while, and even before that at $15. Since Amazon fell off this listing, the seller count has kind of fluctuated and recently has gone up, probably because of this opportunity to purchase this product. But it looks like it's selling around $20 or so pretty consistently, even went up to $23. If I'm looking at this 5-pack, I would want to make sure, what is my break-even price? The break-even price, according to AZ Insight or ASINZen, is $16.46. So that means if I can look at this Keepa chart and see over the last year that it was never at $16.46, that means I have a high likelihood of at least making money on this product, or at least breaking even if I did have to drop it to $16.46. At one point at the beginning of 12 months ago, June of 2024, it was selling at $15 by Amazon. Then Amazon raised their prices. I don't know why they raised their prices, but they did. And so I've got some confidence that if I were to buy this and send this in, that I would at least get my money back out of it. That's how I make a decision, right? If I know that I can see that it's currently profitable, if it's a good match, if everything looks good on this listing, we don't have a generic brand down here or anything like that, it does match the product, then if I can see that not only will I make money now, but I have a high confidence that I'm not going to lose a bunch of money by buying this product, then that's good, right? So I will buy this product, I would test this. Now, because it's on YouTube, I'm not going to. I don't want a bunch of people to be jumping on this listing. But if this is the right product, it is the exact match, and to me that is a good thing. I would still want to double check some other stuff just to make sure that it's all 100% perfect, but based on just the SKU number and everything else, it seems to look like it's the right product, and so I would purchase it based on that. And what's great, again, all you need is one of these and you can expand into a bunch of different sourcing methods, and that's what I like to train on, is how can you just find one listing that matches and then train so much more. But you get the gist. With Nepeto and the online arbitrage retailer section, this is the easy button, so to speak. However, it can lead to some price tanking in some cases. If you buy some of these products and other people are using this, because it is the easy button, it is something that can lead to some price tanking in the future. There are some people that use this solely for their sourcing methods, and then there are other people that have used it and they see some success from it, but they also see some prices drop because everyone has access to using the OA retailer section. One of the great things with Nepeto is that they actually are always updating different suppliers and updating their data, and so this gives you some fresh leads each day, and it also gives you the ability to export some of these leads and upload them into a lead tracker, so that way you're the one tracking them. But it's up to you on how you'd like to do that. So let's go ahead and get into the next section here, which is the live search. Now, whenever I get to the master search, that's when we're going to come back to this mismatched listing, which I didn't plan for, but I think it's kind of fun to show you how we can use it. And we'll use the mismatched listing on the master search, which will be in the next, it'll be the third one away. So we've got the live search next, and I want to make sure to show you this. Now, click to source live. This is still in beta, okay? I have had great success with it. I've also had some issues with it, not actually fully running the list like I would like it to. And so sometimes there are some issues that can come up. You really need to make sure that you're setting up your listing or your functionality with this tool. You need to make sure you're setting it up right, and there's actually a demo video on how to use it, because you need to copy the correct link or URL for it to actually do a live search on that page. Now, it does have a nice list of supported suppliers here, so if you click into this, it only works at these stores right now. There may be more stores in the future that they get to add. I think they should add. They're actually, since I've been on the platform or I'm selling on Amazon since 2015, there used to be a tool that no longer exists. It's called OA X-Ray, and OA X-Ray did this. It did live searching for you, and so I always loved that tool for the longest time, and now Nepeto is what you can use for it. And with it, ultimately, you just need to make sure you're using the right suppliers and you get the correct link. Now, let's just take a look at, let's go with Dick's Sporting Goods, for instance. So I'm going to open up Dick's Sporting Goods, and what we need to do at Dick's Sporting Goods is we need to find the correct link to paste the URL there. Now, whenever we are setting this up and we are doing this the way that they tell us to, we need to go into a category that has pages on the actual web page. So what that means is, let's just go into sports here, and I'm going to click on shop all, or you could click into another niche if you would like to do that. You may have to. Sometimes if you can click shop all and run the live search, that's great, but other times it's not. So the reason is because if we're looking at the shop all here for the sports equipment, there is no, what's called pagination. There aren't pages where you can look at their products and their prices for those products, right? If I were to take this link, and I'll just show you, if I take this link and I go back to Nepeto, this won't work because there aren't products with prices on there. So it'll try to start running these. Most likely it will cancel out and not work because it wasn't set up properly. Okay, now while this is going, I'm going to show you what you need to do to actually get this to run properly, and watch it prove me wrong in this video. But as we go through this, I'm actually going to click into baseball. I played baseball growing up, and I'm just going to go ahead and go through, let's go with baseball cleats. Okay, whenever you're doing this, you want to find a product that looks like this. So this is pagination, where there are a bunch of products, and there are products with prices, and there are pages. Now sometimes a website won't have pages where you click through and it's like, go to page 2. This one does. Okay, so page 2, page 3, etc. This is the type of a product page that you're looking for whenever you're doing a live search. Now, what's great is then you don't have to go through and see if there's matches. You don't have to go through and do any of this stuff. Now, you can do this also with like a tactical arbitrage, so to speak. It's not live, but you could run a search on tactical arbitrage, and I'm happy to make videos on that as well, because both tools are great. They both have different use cases. To me, Nepeto has been much faster, but there's also some limitations with Nepeto that maybe tactical arbitrage handles fairly well. You don't have to have this tool, but it is a great tool to have in your arsenal if you're looking to source quickly, and especially if you're newer, trying to get up to speed on sourcing products. So in this case, this has those pages. It has a number of products on here. I can then take this link and use that in my live search. Now, if I come back here, you can see it says completed. Now it says completed, and it scanned no products because it was the wrong link that was set up. Now let's go ahead and test this. Hopefully this will work for us. I'm going to click on search, and let's see if this does start working for us. And hopefully it'll start going fairly quickly, because you should see products found, products scanned, suppliers, total deals. Okay, there's 52 products found. Now, on those 52 products that were found, this is for page 1 most likely. I'm not sure exactly where those 52 products came from, because it should be 48 based on the number on this page. There may be an additional, yeah, it's got to be these things that they also picked up. Those must-have picks for sponsored. So it found 52 products on page 1. It's starting to scan those products, and it's going to list out any deals that it finds down here. Now you can see there's nothing right now, but there were 391 products that were scanned, 9 total deals that came up, and they're only on page number 1. So I'm not exactly sure what this number means. This is, oh, it includes the variations. Okay, that makes sense. So I actually didn't know that, since we're looking at shoes and I don't really sell shoes. That's one of the reasons we've got so many products scanned. You can see how great this is, because I'm just on this one page with, it just has 48 different products. There are 3 pages. It's going to go through, it's supposed to go through all 3 pages, and it's currently only on page number 1. Now with the live search, there is some functionality that I want to make sure that you're aware of. It's going to pull back any deals that it finds. It's not always going to be profitable items. In some cases, it will be profitable items. I have seen negative profits show up before. What I do recommend doing here is utilizing these filters. So because we're in clothing and shoes, I'm not going to get rid of that. If we were on a different site that was pulling back categories I didn't want to sell in, you could remove the category. But I am going to go ahead and use ROI. Let's just look for an ROI that's above 30%. I'm going to save that. Since we're looking at clothing and shoes, I want to make sure that I'm making a minimum of $10 profit. I'm going to save that. Now these are showing quite a lot of profit and return on investment here. That doesn't mean that they're good. Doesn't mean that it actually sells at all. You can see that the bestseller rank, the sales rank on Amazon has NA, and there's no amount of drops on some of these. And so I want to ensure that if I'm sourcing, that there's at least some sales rank drops. And so I can come over here to BSR or to BSR drops. If you want to see a certain BSR or sales rank number maximum, you can put in here, I want to see under 500,000, just so we can get more results than anything else. We can do that, and it will start filtering out for us. I can also see BSR drops. Let's do a minimum of 5 and click on save. Now, because I did that, it's going to remove all the results that don't actually apply. And so this will help you filter through those results much more quickly. So that way you're not looking at bad leads or bad data. You can also filter out multi-packs if you don't want to deal with that. No private label. You can change all the same exact filters that we had before with the amount of sellers as well on the listing. Now, there is the ability to see if you are gated or not. This would require that you are going to be set up with their account, and you've set up your Amazon account properly so that they can check if you're gated or not. It's up to you if you want to do that. It's fairly simple to get set up, and so I recommend doing that so you remove anything that you're gated on. But because I've set up these filters a little bit more strictly, we don't have any products right now. But if it finds products with BSR drops, and I'm actually going to remove that so we can see what this looks like. If it were to find some that met all of the the criteria here, then it would leave all of these products on here, and we could actually go through them one by one. We can look at the different variations, we can see the brands, and we could also export these and upload them to Replan Dashboard or to whatever other tool we have for our lead tracking. There's a lot of great functionality here, and you don't also have to just have one thing running. I believe you can have multiple of these scans running. I've done it before, but I have also seen it cause some issues. So it just kind of depends on the day. I could have multiple scans running at once. I could even go back to Dick's Sporting Goods, come back here, and I'm actually going to, instead of cleats, I'm going to go to accessories, and I'm gonna, let me just click on shop all clothing accessories here so we can see them, and let's see if there's some pages. There's not, so I'm gonna have to select the let's try shop all apparel accessories here and see if that changes the results for us. Okay, so here we go. We've got 17,000 products that it could go through. Now let's see if it'll allow us to do multiple at one time. Again, I've seen it work before, and I've also seen issues with it. But you can see that this one's currently processing data. It's on page number 2, so it did go to page 2 for us, and now this one is starting to find products. And let's see if it's able to do that. Again, whenever things are live on here, I always get a little bit nervous. So it did 48 products found, 19 total deals. It is combining the Dick's Sporting Good deals from this one and this one combined. So it's not 19 and 19, it's actually just adding things up for us based on our filters. I go back to the BSR drop, so, and I put 5 and I click save, you can see now we're down to 1. So it went from 19 down to 1 because it's only found one that actually has the matching filters. So this one would be a 33% ROI, $30 profit, and now it's sourcing multiple different categories and pages for me at the same time. I'm not sure what the cap is on this, but I do like that I can have multiple searches going at once on a specific page and a supplier that's supported. And again, you could look at the multiple supported suppliers. Personally, you don't want to overwhelm yourself with a lot of stuff here, and so I recommend just having a couple of scans going at once. But you can use this to your advantage. You can filter out whatever you don't want to see, and then you can go through and see what does match and what doesn't match, and if you would like to purchase these products. So, I mean, we've got some pretty good stuff popping up if these are all good. I mean, we've got some good bestseller rank here. We've got some good amount of drops. We've got a good profitability on some of these products. And ultimately with shoes and clothing, you have to make sure to judge the variations accordingly, which I've made plenty of videos on this channel for how do you evaluate variations. You know, if we were looking at a site that didn't have shoes and clothing and it wasn't variations, then that would make it a little bit simpler to go through. But ultimately, because this is clothing and shoes, you're going to find some good stuff, but they may actually not be good. They may be a variation that doesn't get purchased. So we can take a look at this one, for instance, just so we can see what the shoes look like. Since this is a master class, I want to make sure to show you kind of what we're dealing with here. So right now, Dick's Sporting Goods is showing $89.99 for this particular product. And if we go to the Amazon listing page, looks like this is going to be, see if I've got the right size and everything. White Midnight Navy is the color, size 7. So let's see if that's actually what they have. We've got white, black, white. Is there a white midnight navy here? White midnight navy, size 7. That would be $90. Now, because it is men's size 7 typically doesn't sell that well because it's a smaller size that isn't in the averages of most men for their shoe sizes. But at $90, this is what that would cost us. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. We would make some money here, but it does say it couldn't fetch a size or weight for this. It may not have ever been sent in FBA. Kind of hard to tell. Looks like it's just FBM right now. So you could be the only seller selling this FBA if you wanted to send it in. It does have sellers that have sold out of this, so that's interesting. We can also click here. Looks like, though, the amount of stock was 2, so it could have just been FBM sellers that have gotten off the listing. Ultimately, you can judge the variations with Keepa by going to the variations tab. You can take a look at how many reviews each size has gotten, and you can just judge it from that. That's usually how I like to do it. There are much better shoe sellers than me that may disagree, but I like to see if there are reviews or ratings on any of these products. Right now, none are popping up, so it may be kind of a newer listing, or maybe Keepa is still trying to evaluate all that data for me right now. Usually that's what I like to use to check. If there were reviews, if there were ratings on a certain size, then typically that means that it's gotten more sales than some of the others. Because on a Keepa chart, you can't judge the product based on the sales rank, since it's going to be variation wide. It's going to be for all of the different products that have been sold. You can judge variation based on its new offer count, based off of its pricing, and based off of the reviews that Keepa shows. Now, this is a newer listing. It's only been on here 185 days for this particular size, so that may be a reason that we don't have any reviews or anything. It just may not have been purchased. So this would be one I'd pass up on for the purposes of selling clothing and shoes. But that's not what the point of this video necessarily is. It did match, and so that's great to see. It is pulling back, though, a lot of products. Right now we have 5 that met all of my strict criteria, and it's probably way more than that if I remove this. If I remove some of my strict criteria, then we're looking at 30, and it finished this. There were 4 pages for that first search, and now it's only on page 2 for this other search. And so this is just a great thing to have running. Now, if you do go away from this page, it will stop the search. And so ultimately, I want to make sure that you're aware of that. I'm going to stop it so we can move on to the next feature here within Nepeto. Now, Storefront Scanner. This is a great thing that you can utilize if you want to compete against other sellers and utilize those storefronts to find more potential products. Now, you can see that I've run different seller IDs plenty of times on here. You can use 30 scans in one day. You can also combine this. Let's say you run out of these scans. You can combine Nepeto with Keepa to pull back a bunch of products that other sellers are selling, and then you can upload that list of products to Nepeto using the master search, which is what we're going to get to in just a minute. But for this particular case, we're going to go through and try to use their storefront scanner to search for more products. Now, I'm actually going to go back to this mismatched listing. The one at the beginning, I told you we were going to come back to this because this still provides us data. This product sells so often, has had a lot of sellers, that we can use that to our advantage. So if I come to the data tab here and then I click on offers, there's a few things that I want to look at. One is once this loads, we can see who's currently selling the listing, and we can just start scanning their storefront if we'd like. But we can also see the historical sellers on this listing. So if I go to FBA only, for instance, there's only 2 prime sellers currently on here. This one, it could be a wholesale account, it could be anything, but I like to see that there's a decent amount of reviews lifetime. It's currently on the listing, so it probably has some other opportunities. And you can just copy this and you can come back to Nepeto, and I could just run this in the storefront scanner, and it's going to start scanning it. It says only 327 ratings in the last 12 months. Looks like it did pull back some products that were in their storefront that it does have matching to their suppliers, which is great, right? So this gives us the opportunity now. We could just go through each one of these individually. It does look like it's got some okay returns on investment here. Some are a little bit lower, some are perfect. Depending on what you're looking to sell, you can also place all those same filters that I've discussed multiple times, or you can export all of these different products. Now, for this particular seller, I'm actually going to export this so that way we can see. It looks like this seller brought back about 49 different ASINs. So if I were to go through each one of these ASINs, then that would, let me go ahead and pull this. So here's the 49 different ASINs. I can do a couple things with this. One, I can upload these products to a tool like Repricer Dashboard to store those leads. Now, this doesn't mean that they are quality. They could be a little mismatched. They could have lower return on investment. All of these, though, are a positive return on investment. If I just highlight this ROI section, it looks like the average is 44.3% return on investment here. And so that gives me some ability to go through each one of these and see if I'd like to purchase them and sell them myself. And so that's a great way that you can use this tool if you are storefront stalking. Sometimes, though, it will pull back 0 results if there's nothing that they have in their database for that seller. And in those cases, that does not count as a credit against your account on your Nepeto dashboard. So you still get 30 scans that day, and those scans mean if they find one product or more from that storefront. So in this case, we have a lot that we could go through. We could actually see, okay, this one is a 60% return on investment. Take a look at this product. Again, I don't have this hooked up right now for the gated or ungated because everyone's going to be gated in different things. But if you had that hooked up, you could also filter out anything that you are gated in. And so I recommend checking that out if you do sign up for Nepeto. Now this is $4.98. 13 ounces. Looks like I would have to purchase this from Hy-Vee. So if you have an area, or if you live in an area where Hy-Vee exists, then great. Also, keep in mind that just because they pull back a supplier doesn't mean you have to buy it from Hy-Vee. I could go out and search for this product and see if it's someplace else, maybe in my own local area of Publix, right? Maybe Publix in my area of Florida has the same exact product at the same exact price, and I don't have a Hy-Vee around me, but I could go buy it from Publix. That's another thing to keep in mind. It's not just the suppliers that they provide you, it's also about the data and information that you're getting while you're using this tool. So $4.98. We can come over here, make sure that this is correct. 13-ounce box, it looks like. Peanut butter and banana flavor. This is 13 ounce peanut butter and banana. And so this looks to be correct to me. I would want to, do a little bit more due diligence there. But at $4.98, I'm going to take off this custom cost that I had on here with ASINZen. And it looks like we're making $2.55 or a 51% return on investment. Now keep in mind, I also have the inbound shipping cost to FBA built in there based on my per pound rate. So that way I also know all of my costs there are essentially calculated, besides maybe like a poly bag and the actual prep process there. Now, if I look at this, this is where you'd want to evaluate the Keepa chart. So this is very important, right? So we're evaluating this Keepa chart. We're looking at the last year. Always look at the last year. This is in stock. It started at $17.58, has been dropping, and it's only had a few sales. So I may buy a couple of these to test because I want to see if I can get some sales, but the sellers are going up. The price is starting to drop. So depending on, if you have a lot of capital available, maybe worth testing. If you have a little amount of capital available, maybe don't test it just yet because it could drop back down to $9.99. Now, the actual break-even point for this particular product is $11.71. All right. So if you did buy this and send it in, you'd have to be okay with the price dropping down to $9.99. Let's just put it at 10 because if it drops down there, you're going to be losing $1.45. So depending on your Amazon business, you may pass up on that if you don't want to take that risk. You could get in early enough, essentially, to where maybe you sell this at $14.99 or $12.99 or something like that. But most likely, the price is going to continue to drop because it's not really selling that much and the seller count is starting to go up again. And so I would be careful with that. But it's up to you. This could be a good one to test. Now, ultimately, the other thing to keep in mind is we just took a seller storefront. We looked at just one of those products that came back from the storefront scanner. And there are a bunch more, right? A lot of these are from Hy-Vee. So if you live in an area with Hy-Vee, then great. But there are some online suppliers you could purchase these from as well. We can do the same exact process. So we started with this listing that didn't have very many, that was a mismatch. It had only a couple sellers. We took this one seller ID, put that in there. Well, now that we have another product, we can go to this product. We could do the same thing. I can go to data. I can go to offers. I can then see all of the FBA only offers that are on here. I can find the ones with the higher review count. This one has 15,000 reviews. I like to use that. That may be a little bit too high because it could be a wholesale seller, for instance. But anything that's 2,000, 7,000, even a few hundred if they've been around for a long enough time can be good. You could also utilize this, include historical offers to see all of the sellers that have been on this listing. So if I remove this again, right now there are 5 FBA only results. And if I click on include historical offers, there are now 72 sellers that we could possibly take a look at. And we could run through each one of these on that storefront scanner to find more products. You can see this one had 755,000 reviews. It's big fly. It's a big seller. But you could look at any of these that have maybe 2,700 reviews. I would avoid any with a bad rating over the last 12 months. I would only want to look at some of the good sellers, but I could take this one, I could copy it, I can go back to the Nepeto storefront scanner, and after exporting these results and importing them into my lead tracker, I could go back and just refresh this page. Now, there is a timeout feature of this. You do have to wait a certain amount of time to run another storefront, but I can click on this, and now we can click on scan. It's going to pull back this particular storefront, and it pulls back even more products. So this one has more from Webstront store, which you can buy online. Pretty good to do that. The export for this particular storefront came back, and there were about 16 different listings on here. Doesn't mean they're good, but if I look at the return on investment, this is an average of 37% ROI. Some of them are 70, 60, and some are like 12, right? So these I would want to go through as well and see if there's anything that I can purchase from that list. And I can also then upload that to my lead tracker in Replan dashboard so that it's constantly monitoring the profits and the costs and where you can buy that from. You can store all of your OA links and other things in there, so it's easy to purchase that whenever it's time for you to purchase it, right? Because this product that's at 12% return on investment in the future could be at 40% ROI, and then you want to buy it. You may not want to buy it now, but in the future you might. And so instead of having to go find this product again when it randomly is up to a 40% ROI, if you have it stored someplace else, you're going to be much better off long-term in the future. So that is how you use the storefront scanner. You can also see some other good information from the storefront here. You can see their top brands. You can see their top categories. So if you really wanted to dive into some of these brands even further and do more sourcing manually or with their live sourcing feature or with anything else, really, you can look at some of these brands and see if you can find them. You can also, if this is a wholesale seller, you could potentially reach out to some of these brands and see if there's a wholesale opportunity as well. So that is how you use the storefront scanner. If I go back here, you can see it shows that I used 2 out of 30 scans today. So I can do this 30 times each day and find a bunch of new products. Just in the few minutes that I was showing you that, it found about 50 and another 15. I found 65 different products, right, approximately, that I could go through and find probably a couple things that I would be willing to buy and list. And at worst, I upload them to the lead tracker and just have those for future use in my own business. Now let's get into the Nepeto master search. This is the one I personally love. It is faster OA sourcing. It is not going to be going through here's a hand, they're handing out to you a bunch of OA retailers or leads. You are actually inputting information, and it's going to bring back a list of products that are profitable that you can potentially source as well. And so this I love because it's almost like the reverse sourcing with tactical arbitrage. You can use tactical arbitrage pretty extensively, actually, for reverse sourcing. It's kind of the long-term tool, but it can sometimes take 10 hours, 24 hours for a whole reverse sourcing to be done. And so I train on this in my evergreen sourcing system and in the Business Building Legends community, but the Nepeto Master Search does it in just a couple minutes. Now, the issue sometimes is that Nepeto has fewer suppliers, but it's typically going to be much better matched than tactical arbitrage will be, and it's going to be much quicker. I'd rather get results that are 80% as good in 2 minutes than to wait 24 hours and have some issues anyway with tactical arbitrage. So ultimately, we're going to be utilizing the Nepeto Master Search. Now with this, you're actually uploading a CSV file. They have a nice little video showing you how to do this. What I love is you can actually combine it with Keepa and all those Keepa sourcing systems. This is why I have 60 different sourcing systems in my evergreen sourcing system program, because you can use all of the sourcing systems and filter them in to a master search. You can filter them in to tactical arbitrage, and you can be finding replens along the way that you can test out and other things. So with the Nepeto Master Search, I'm going to show you how you can best do this. Now there's a couple things. I'm going to close out of some of these tabs. I'm going to keep these Starbucks ones open because I think there's a cool functionality that you can utilize. With Keepa, let's go ahead and pull this over. You can use the data product finder. Now in Nepeto, you can upload a list of 10,000 ASINs for it to run through their master search. I believe that that's been the limits. They may update that in the future, but you can see average load time is 2 minutes. I usually do up to 10,000, but with Keepa, you can download up to 5,000. So you can just run that in one search and have it run the 5,000 data points. And so that's what we're trying to get to, as close as possible to 5,000 different ASINs that we can go through. There's so many different ways. There's millions of ways that you can set up Keepa Data Product Finder filters. And that's why I have 60 different systems that I go through, because ultimately you really only need about 5 to 10 that are good, that you like to use, that you ultimately will be using consistently. You can train your team on using them. This is great, right? There's so many opportunities with sourcing, and I like to show it with Nepeto. I may do it again or in the future with tactical arbitrage. I do this all the time with the Keepa Data Product Finder and sourcing. You can check out those videos on this channel as well. But here's just some basic ways. Let's just pull back about 5,000 different ASINs on Keepa that have certain parameters that I like to go through. So again, millions of ways that you can set up the Keepa Product Finder. But I'm going to just personally, right now, I'm going to go with Amazon's out of stock. I'm going to make sure that there is a new price of, let's just say, over $20, okay? And we may only find like 3 things doing this, but sometimes it pulls back 50 or 100 things. So it just depends on what you're looking at doing. The next thing that I want to do is make sure that we are looking at an average price point that doesn't dip below $20. We're going to go ahead and do that. Now you can use the product finder to pull back ASINs that are increasing in price and decreasing in sellers. You can use it just to find stable products. Up to you how you want to do it. But I'm using the new price because I want to see anything that also might have some FBM sellers on there. You can use the buy box price, but that can limit your results if there's no buy box. The other thing that I want to do is sales rank. I'm just going to do a maximum of 300,000 across the board. Okay. Now that might be too high. But it could also be the perfect amount. And so in some cases, something could be at 350,000 that I would buy, or it might have no sales rank, right? I love to run this with no sales rank systems as well. So that way we're finding products that maybe some other people are passing up on that have no sales rank, but still sell really well. And that's what I like to train on so much. Let's take a look at some of the other things we could do. We can start to exclude categories if we know that we're gated. I can go to is none of and exclude clothing and shoes if I wanted to. I could exclude electronics, or I can do is one of, and I can start selecting whatever categories I want. So let's say I'm cool with arts, crafts, and sewing, and then I also want to do grocery, and I also, let's say I want to do clothing and shoes, okay, because I'm fine selling those products. And I want to go through pet supplies, and I want to go through office products. And so it can start to pull back this list, this root category list of all the major products. And just with that, we have 5 million products with just these 5 different categories that met those other criteria. So fairly simple to find 5,000 items or ASINs that we want to go through. And I'm going to show you another method that we can use that uses that bad listing, that was the mismatch, for how we can double down with not just the storefront scanner that we already talked about, but also this master search feature. And I'll go through that in just a second. But so we'll start with those categories, and I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to say I want to see new offers. Let's just go with a minimum of 3 across the board, so that way we know we're not dealing with private label products. That brings us from 5 million down to 193,000 products. If you want to compete against FBA sellers, because if there are a bunch of FBA sellers that may indicate that there's a place to buy those products, you can also input the FBA offer count as well. Sometimes I'll do that in my trainings on YouTube here. The next thing that I want to do is I can scroll down and I can do out of stock percentage. So I just want to see Amazon's out of stock 70% of the time, because in this case, I'm trying not to compete with Amazon. There are times when I'm happy to compete with them. And I'm also going to do, let's go show only one variation per product. That way I'm not looking at a ton of different ASINs. I'm just looking at one particular ASIN. And then we can look at sales rank drops. Maybe I want to see a minimum of 10 sales rank drops in the last 30 days. This can really start to limit your results. Personally, this can become problematic, because if there's no sales rank, then you want to avoid that. And drops don't really mean much. It just means that it's sold a minimum amount of times, but 10 drops could be, 30 sales, right? So this isn't perfect, but it is directional, right? It starts to get us to the place that we're trying to go. And I want to see at least 5 reviews on these listings. That probably won't change it a ton. And so we're getting down there, right? We're at 34,000 products. Let's start to really reduce this list even more. So I'm going to actually scroll to the amount of offers. I'm going to do a minimum of 2. Let's see if that changes things at all. We're at 16,000. And let's go ahead and, instead of $20 price point here, I'm going to do 25, and we'll be at 12,000 products. So I'm just going to start with these 12,000. If you can get it on to 5,000 or less, that's great. But if you're at 12, that's fine. You can click on find products. Again, we've got pretty good parameters here. We could make it even better if we wanted to, but it's just for example's sake. So with those 12,000 products, we now are showing 100 rows. Now, whenever you do this method, your quota for the Keepa Data Product Finder, here I have to move my, my video, the quota is currently at 99%. But if I change this to 5,000 rows instead of 100, because I want to export all of these ASINs, I'm going to click 5,000, and then that's going to start to drop my quota. It may or may not update right away, but it is doing what it needs to do. Okay, so I paused the video for a second so I could let this load for me. And so now we have 5,000 rows out of the 12,000 different results that I had pulled back from our initial search results. Now we have 75% left on our quota there. And so it took off 25% by doing 5,000 rows. But this is important, right? Because if we have these 5,000 rows set up this way, that gives us the ability to now export all of these different ASINs. So I'm going to export only the ASINs and just the CSV here. If you export all active columns, it's going to be a waste. You just need the ASINs for Nepeto specifically. I'm going to click on export. Now, I don't care about these products too much, but what I care about is the ASINs. So I'm going to come back to Nepeto, click on this upload CSV file. You can see it says make sure you only include the ASIN column. I'm going to choose this file, and I'm going to pull up this Keepa export that we just did, and it does take up to 2 minutes. Now you can see it's loading for us. It may be a lot faster than 2 minutes. I've never had it really go over 2 minutes, but I do like that this is the average load time. It usually goes fairly quickly. And so while this is happening, I just want to explain kind of why this is so great. We just took 5,000 targeted, precise ASINs that met certain criteria we were looking for. We're able to export just those ASINs and then import them into a tool that within a few minutes is going to pull back matching suppliers and products. And we've already got that, right? So this was fairly quick, pulled back a bunch of different products. Again, there are clothing and shoes in here. So because Nepeto has a lot of clothing and shoes suppliers, you're going to be able to find some good stuff there. I'm going to go ahead and just export this because I want to see how many actual ASINs came from this. Now, I didn't filter it at all. You can use these filters to get rid of things under a certain ROI, like I've already mentioned. Let me go ahead and pull up this particular product or this particular export list. Now, out of all of those products, we uploaded 5,000 ASINs. It brought back 52 matching ASINs. Now, there's some more quality control I recommend doing. You want to remove for instance, suppliers that you don't know, like, or trust. I don't know Shop WSS, or I've never purchased from there, so I would probably remove those 2 products. But you can go through each one of these if you want and just see, okay, this Happy Jack Kennel Dip dog flea and tick removal or whatever this is, if Jeffers Pet is an authorized supplier, well, that's a 30% return on investment, $5 profit, and I can go ahead and open up these listings just to check those out. And so it's fairly simple, right? It's fairly easy. Just like I've shown you multiple times before with this particular software, you can just go through this. It's currently selling at $14.99. Not sure how much I trust this website necessarily, but if they deliver, then and it's an authorized supplier, then that's great. If we're looking at this, it Kennel Dip 2, it's like it is the same product. It just may be out of date for the actual packaging. So it costs us $15 here. And in this case, we would then make $8.23 before our prep and ship fees for this particular Kennel Dip 2. Now, if we're looking at this, again, this is a fairly good Keepa chart. I like the steadiness of it. It has dropped a few times. The actual amount of sellers seem to be fine to me. It has some good movement. It even has a monthly sold amount here that is pretty good to see that it's selling regularly, because the monthly sold amount is by variation, by child variation. So even though this is a variation listing, this particular one sells over 100 times per month as of right now. And so that's good to see. So this would be one that I would potentially test, as long as I double check that this supplier was authorized, one that I trusted and could utilize for the business. So I would want to do that test that I mentioned earlier. But that's just one product, right? It was the first one that we found from Nepeto. It has great potential for us to send it in. Additionally, maybe worth checking out, see if there's a wholesale opportunity there. Go find the brand, see if you can open up a wholesale account, or find another supplier if Jeffers Pet isn't one that you like or trust. But you can also export all of these ASINs, upload them to replendashboard.com or whatever lead tracker you have, and then it's going to start tracking all of these products. Now, whenever you do filter out these suppliers, right, we're looking at these are all the suppliers that came through. If I don't want to see Jeffers Pet, just blacklist that supplier for now. And I don't want to see, let's just say Roadrunner Sports, I can do that. And then I can click on save, and now it's going to be able to update that for whenever I export it. It should look a little bit different. That was the original list. Still pulled up the Jeffers Pet one, so let me see if I did anything incorrect, and click on here. It should have updated for me right away, so I was surprised it didn't. It might not with this particular master search. On the retail OA setting, it does update that, as we saw earlier, so it may just be something that needs to be changed in the future, or maybe I did something incorrect on here. That's usually what I'm able to do. But anyway, if you don't want those particular products, you can pull up that exported list. You can just delete those items before you upload them to any lead tracking tool that you have. So that's how you use the master search with just a Keepa product finder filter on. But you can also take this storefront stalking to the next level, right? So I could come over here to this listing that was mismatched earlier, and I could use those same tools that I showed you. We have FBA only on this listing, 2 results, and I could then click on include historical offers. Now in this, it goes from 2 results to 105 different suppliers that have been FBA on this particular listing. Now, Keepa allows us to use up to 50 different seller IDs to source through products. So I can come back to the product finder, and I would want to enter in other filters, but I want to start with the seller ID particularly. Now, if you're trying to get to Keepa quickly, you can do seller ID, and then it's going to pull up buy box seller IDs, or right here, we can just look at this seller. This is the section we're going to be utilizing. And so what you want to do with this is I'm going to come here, I'm going to click on export, and I want to export all active columns in this case for a CSV file. I'm going to let this thing open up. Now, whenever this opens here, I'll pull it over. We can see here that we've got all the seller IDs. You need to ensure that the seller ID is listed on your Keepa product finder. If it's not, you can click on configure columns, and you can look up under filter columns, seller ID, or just seller, and then make sure the ID is selected. Otherwise, it will disappear. Okay. So I recommend having that on. If you don't, you will not be able to do this. So you need to double check that the columns are configured properly. But if I come back to this, we can see here's all the different seller IDs that exist. I could then come down here, and I'm gonna just copy 50 of them, or around 50 of them. I believe I probably just copied 49. I need to then go to another website. All right, it's called dlim.co, and the reason is because I need to get this into a format Keepa likes to see. I'm gonna paste the column data there. I'm gonna click on this little blue button, and then it puts them into this comma format. And so that's what Keepa needs to see. I can then select it, and then you want to copy this, okay? If you don't copy it, it won't work. You need to make sure that you copy these that selection. Come back to the product finder, and now I can paste in all of those seller IDs, and it's gonna pull back all the products for those different sellers. So there's 21,000 products from those 49 different seller IDs that I pulled back. And then I can just come up to here, and I can use those same little filters. I can do Amazon out of stock. I can make sure that the pricing, let's just go with 15. And now we're down to 7,695. If I want to ensure that there's at least some sort of a sales rank on these, I can do 300,000, and I can copy and paste that across the board. And this is going to bring up another targeted list of ASINs. It's going to be probably much lower than the first results. We've got 4,305. And I also want to see that we've got a minimum amount of sellers, so that way I can tell these aren't private label products. But this one was fairly quick and easy, and now we're down to 3,550 products. So I can come over here, click on Find Products now. I can put in any other filters filters that I want. So if I wanted to avoid categories, you can do that. Again, millions of ways that you can set up Keepa to do this. But we were able to take that bad listing, the mismatch, it was only kind of mismatched. Technically the UPC probably still matches and everything. I didn't check, but we were able to take that, find the first storefront scanner with Nepeto, and then instead of just doing the storefront scanner, we just took all of the seller IDs over the history of the listing, which is crazy because there's only 2 FBA sellers. We were able to get over 100 different seller IDs that now we can run through Keepa to pull then all of the ASINs that we need. You can see now my quota is down to 59% here, and so that's not necessarily good, but you can probably do this about 5 times or so for 5,000 different rows, 4 to 5 times within a certain set time period. It goes really quickly. I could do that in probably about 10 or 15 minutes and keep running through this process. But now I just want to export these 5,000 rows, only the ASINs, click on export, and I can come back over to Nepeto into this master search, and let's just run another master search. So I'm going to refresh this page. I'm going to be able to then upload another CSV file. Again, there is a time limitation there, and let me see which one. I believe this one is the one we want. Here we go. I'm going to upload this. This one just came through, and so it's going to be great because ultimately it's going to pull back different listings than we had before. So before we started with a Keepa product finder search to get certain types of ASINs that we wanted to see, and in this case we're doing some storefront stalking on a mass level with Nepeto, and it just takes a couple of minutes. And what we can also do is we had over 100 different results here. We had 105, and we only went through 49, I think, is what I actually selected. So we could do another 56 different seller IDs. I can go back to that same thing, copy the next 50, put them back into dlim.co here, and then I can take that, I can paste it back into the Keepa product finder, I can run the list of ASINs, and be able to do this process all over again with the time limitation that Nepeto has. So you can see here, pulled up a bunch of different results right here, which is great. We can go through each one of those if we wanted to. I'm going to export that so we can see how many different listings actually pulled up. So it's not this one because those are our seller IDs from before. It is this listing or this Excel sheet. Looks like this one came back with 77 different ASINs that match to a supplier that have some level of profitability here. If I look at the ROI, we're looking at an ROI of 38.7% on average. Some are at 80, some are at 10 or 19, 15, etc. So there's a lot of opportunities here. Again, you want to double check these listings, make sure you can buy these products, make sure you're not gated in them. You can even use the gated status from Nepeto if you would like to do that. I don't have that set up currently, but it's just a great way to quickly go through a bunch of results. Now, if I were to add up all the different exports that we've done and the amount of leads that have pulled back, we're looking at hundreds of leads at this point. I think I had 50, and then I had added 15, and then I had another 70 or so, and that one was about another, I don't remember what it was, 70 or so, I think. But it added a lot of different listings, hundreds of different leads, and we can upload those, the ones that we want to save, into Replan Dashboard or into 3P Mercury or SourceFlow.io or whatever tool you want, and it's just a great way to source quickly for your business. And ultimately, if you find some mismatches, that's okay. Just don't buy them. And out of those few hundred different leads that I found, probably I would have purchased at least 1 or 2 of them that I brought up on the screen, and we only went through like 6, right? Maybe 8 that we actually went through or something like that. So if I were to go through hundreds of leads, I could probably find a few that I'd be willing to test. And it just took me, however long this has taken for me to explain, probably actually took me about 15 minutes of work to show you that. Plus, we still have more opportunities of all those other sellers and those seller IDs that we can go through with the Nepeto Master Search and the Keepa Product Finder. So many different ways that we can use Nepeto. So we've gone through the online arbitrage retailers, the ability to export different products and leads from there that we can then save on Replan Dashboard or another place. We've gone through the live search functionality and the ability to pull back different listings based on the actual product prices today at those suppliers like Dick's Sporting Goods that we use. Went through the storefront scanner and only went through 2 of those and pulled back a bunch of listings when we can pull over 30 different storefronts each day. And we've gone through Nepeto Master Search on how you can utilize the Keepa Product Finder to put in a set criteria inside the product finder and get all of those ASINs searched for using Nepeto suppliers, and how you can also combine that with some storefront stalking from just one lead that was actually mismatched, because we just care about suppliers at that point. And then finally down here, the one that I'm going to go through last is the CSV Scanner. Now, if you're doing wholesale in some way, this is where the CSV Scanner can be helpful. We actually had one person that went through the Evergreen Sourcing System program that I put on, which you can check out at askjimmysmith.com/evergreen. It's a 2-month live sourcing program, over 60 different written standard operating procedures, tons of live sourcing that we do on a consistent basis. But you can check that out. One person went through, found basically 2 leads following only the Nepeto master search that I just showed you. He just pulled back a couple different products. One of those became a wholesale supplier for him, and now he got 7,000 different products that he ran through the CSV scanner and was able to utilize Nepeto to source through those 7,000 products that he now has as leads from just one result that came back on an ASIN. So it wasn't like 70 ASINs came back, it was 2. But then he took that a step further and actually reached out to find a wholesale account that opened up an account with 7,000 new products that then he used for the CSV scanner. So you can click to scan this CSV. You can see I've done a couple just different tests. You can do just an ASIN, but the file must contain a UPC, an EAN, or an ASIN. So one of those 3 things. Also, it needs to contain a price. Okay, so if you don't have a price, if you're just doing the Keepa exports with no cost, then this won't work. That's where you need to use the Nepeto master search, because in that case, they're taking the ASINs, they're finding a supplier and a cost that is profitable and showing you the results. In this case, you are providing an ASIN or a UPC and the cost that you can purchase it from. This is specifically going to be from wholesale standpoint, or if you're somebody that is able to export lists for arbitrage, which is a whole separate discussion, you can actually, it's called the proven bot sourcing course I've seen out there, and that teaches you how you can export different lists of prices and products from arbitrage sources. You could do that, but this is typically going to be for wholesale, where you're going to upload an UPC or an ASIN with a price, and it's going to pull back all of those data points. Now, I did go ahead and start uploading a file that I have. Now, I did not utilize a template. I just uploaded the file. So we'll see if anything returns from this. But what I want to make sure that you're aware of is if you have a supplier list from some sort of wholesale account of yours, you should download the template and test that out. So that way you're actually following their instructions. If you just upload a supplier list like I just did, you may not get anything. If you do upload that supplier list, you need to ensure that that the actual template that it has uses the same exact column names. And I did not do this. So this may take some time. Also, by the way, let's say you have 10,000 products on a list and you run it through the CSV scanner. Well, it's going to go out. It's going to find all the matching ASINs that match to the UPC. Or if you uploaded an ASIN list, then it's going to do that for you as well. But ultimately, it's going to go out. It's going to match those products to the ASINs, and it's going to pull back anything. So matching by UPC or EAN will return all possible matches for you to choose the best one, because there may be multiple ASINs that match to a UPC. Additionally, it is not going to just show the profitable items. It will show some negative ones as well. So hopefully this will this will be something that can upload pretty quickly. I think I uploaded probably too big of a file, so it might take a few minutes. And so I'm going to go ahead and let this thing run, and we'll be back in a minute once this is done. Okay, so that the file that I uploaded actually wasn't going to work because I didn't set it up the right way. So that's my own fault. That's the pros of doing these things for you. So you can see sometimes you make mistakes. Now, what I wanted to do is upload or download a template here. So in this case, I'm actually going to do it a little bit of a different way. Instead of using a wholesale supplier with UPC and price, I'm going to actually utilize one way that I think you can use your leads as well and get Nepeto to update source or supplier information for you. So if I actually take a look here at their template, you can see it has just ASIN, price, name, and image. That's pretty easy. It requires ASIN and price or UPC and price if you have a UPC product. So I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see that ASIN, price, name, and image. That's their template that you download. Okay, so what I'm going to do, since I'm using Replan Dashboard and I'm talking about these lead trackers, I'm going to go to my lead tracker I have here. There's over 25,000 items down there. You probably can't see it based on the way my screen is, but there's 25,000 different leads that I have inside of this lead tracker. Now I can actually go to export up in the top corner, and I'm going to move my little screen here so that way you can see me. I'm going to click on export, and I'm going to just find, instead of the title or anything else, I'm going to do the ASIN, and I'm going to go ahead and remove the buy link, remove the supplier, remove the store section, and I just want those 2 columns that Nepeto wants to see. So ASIN and cost. Okay, so in this, I'm going to export these. I'm going to click on download down at the bottom, and that's going to export for me. And whenever I do that, I can see this nice little sheet pulls up with all the different products that I have access to, and just, you know, a lot of different things that now I can upload to Nepeto. I don't think it downloaded all 25,000 for me. I think that it, you know, just went through a certain amount that I have here, the 2,500 rows that are currently being shown. But we're going to upload those 2,500 to Nepeto. So I'm going to go choose a file, and I'm going to go ahead and do this. I believe it was this download here. Let me make sure that was the correct one. Nope, that was the wrong one. Well, now we got to wait a little bit of time because I screwed that up. All right, so let me go ahead and click on ASIN. I'm going to now click on choose a file and click on this inventory, and I have to wait 99 seconds until this can scan again. So I'm going to pause this so that way we are on the right track. I think I waited enough time. It was only just a couple minutes for that to reset. And again, this process is actually really smooth if you do it right. I did it wrong a couple of times because I was just trying to speed up the process for creating this video, but that's what you get sometimes whenever you do that. Now, in this case, I'm actually going to be, again, going through the ASINs and the costs that I downloaded from Replan Dashboard for my lead tracker because I want it to update actual products that I have in my lead tracker so that way I can get up-to-date results. Now, this is only 2,500 of those 25,000 plus different leads that I have in the lead tracker there. So I'm going to go ahead and click on ASIN. I'm going to choose a file. Hopefully this one will work since I now selected the correct file. We'll see how long this one takes. Very much a lot quicker. Okay, so you can see anything here. It's got an infinity ROI because there was probably a couple without a cost. If I actually take a look, for some reason, should have been updating the costs here. The your price section should have been updating. The scan can usually take up to 15 minutes. And so we'll see if anything does pull up because it should have. And what may have happened is I've got this as costs instead of price. Okay, so that is again user error on this case. So hopefully we can run this one more time and we can be able to utilize their actual tool. So you can see here it needs identifier code, the UPC, EAN, or ASIN, and it needs price, not cost. Okay, so make sure that you're saving that as price. You would also need that in your wholesale suppliers. If you're doing UPC, make sure that price is what pulls up. So I'm sorry for those of you that are watching this, may be getting a little bit frustrated, but you can see how quickly that it did pull back different results. There's multiple pages we can go through. It's still loading some products, and we can also export all of these results as well and kind of see what the up-to-date information is on that. I do like that it shows an estimated sales per month, 84. This one's verified at 50 plus. That means it came from Amazon. And so we can see that information. I'm not going to make you sit through me uploading another list, but you get the gist. It comes back, shows you all of the products, the prices, etc. If there's profitability in there, what the return on investment would be had I set up the template correctly in that case. So that is how you can utilize Nepeto. So whether you're doing online arbitrage, you're just trying to get started, and you need a retailer that you can just start learning from, you can go through and find their pre-sourced, pre-vetted deals, make sure that they match. If they don't match, you can report it to them and it can help your credits here, your mismatches. And if they don't match, again, you can use that to your advantage. I showed you how you can use that to your advantage, to use that in the Storefront scanner, to use that with the Nepeto Master Search. We talked about the live search and using some of the functionality with being able to record or find products live that are based on the prices that are actually right there at that time for whatever store supplier that they have available to you. They're always adding more to that. Again, that is in beta, and so I'm sure that it'll continue to get even better over time. There's a storefront scanner. This storefront scanner allows you to do 30 storefronts a day. I recommend just going through that so you can find more leads and ASINs that you can test in your business. Additionally, there's the Nepeto Master Search where you can take the Keepa filters, you can upload ASINs, and you can find a bunch of products that come back from that. This one's my favorite. This is a great way to combine sourcing systems like I train in Evergreen Sourcing or any of the things I've done on YouTube and putting them into the Master Search to find you more and more products. And then again, you find one ASIN and you can then take all of the competitors and keep running through the sourcing process. This makes sourcing fun, utilizing Nepeto, utilizing any other sourcing tool where you start to take one ASIN, find some competitors, maybe you take some Keepa data product finder filters, and you can capitalize on that. You start looking down some rabbit holes of brand sourcing and other things that you have. Just so many opportunities. When people tell me that sourcing is difficult, I know it's tough. I know it takes some time, but it can be a lot of fun once you see how it all interconnects. There's so many different webs and different ways that you can go with this. It's not just whatever products are recommended or a leads list that you're purchasing. It's also how can you search live on a product page? How can you use the storefront scanner? How can you use Nepeto Master Search or any other reverse sourcing tool like Tactical Arbitrage? You upload a list of ASINs and it pulls back suppliers for you that then you can verify and purchase from. How can you use the CSV scanner if you want to update your products from your lead tracking in Replan Dashboard or another place? Or how can you use it from a wholesale perspective? So that way it's just telling you what UPCs or ASINs are actually profitable based off of the wholesale list that you got. And if you set it up the right way, then you're good to go. Now there are other things in here, Amazon to Walmart products. If you're selling on Walmart, recommend checking that out. If you do sell on Walmart and you want to buy from Amazon, if you want to be the only seller, you can actually run this list with Keepa and the Keepa Data Product Finder where there's no other sellers on a listing, and then run that through the Master Search. That's my favorite way to find out of stock listings. But in this case, they've already matched up some deals that could potentially be good for you. And you can see that there's no buy box on the listing there. These different listings have been out of stock. So you could go through through them. I personally don't use it as much. I'd rather utilize the Keepa Data Product Finder with some of my sourcing systems to then pull back ASINs that have no other sellers based on other criteria and parameters that I like, and then run it through the master search or another reverse searching tool. And then Amazon to Amazon flips. Again, I personally also like to use Amazon to Amazon flips, just using the Keepa Data Product Finder and the ways that I've been taught to do it. I don't do a ton of A to A, but this is an easy way where they're starting to pull back potential opportunities of, hey, this price seems lower, maybe you can sell it for higher. Ultimately, you know the supplier is Amazon in this case, so it doesn't need to go out and find you a supplier. I personally don't use Nepeto a ton for A to A flips at all, because I don't need to use their master search. I can just use it in the Keepa Data Product Finder. I train on multiple different systems for that inside of my evergreen sourcing and business building legends communities. But hopefully this showed you the potential with Nepeto. There's so much opportunity. They're always adding more and more. Again, there's a scanning app, a profit calculator. If you want 50% off to Nepeto, you can go to askjimmysmith.com/Nepeto, and that's a great place to get started. That way you can get access to the master plan and check all of this out. Ultimately, they did not ask me to make this video. I personally just like to use it and like to recommend people to use it. And if you don't want to use the affiliate link that I've mentioned, you can just go to nepeto.com. You won't get the 50% off, but you'll be able to sign up for the tool, and it's just an excellent way to get started sourcing. Now, again, I have a bunch of links down in the description, so if you're somebody looking to get into my evergreen sourcing system program with over 60 different tools and SOPs that I have for sourcing, with over 20 different live sourcing sessions over a 2-month period, you can check that out. Or if you're over $5,000 a month, you want to be a part of everything, then you can check out the Business Building Legends community. They have linked below. And finally, if you are somebody that's brand new, you're looking to get started, check out the free training link that I have in the description. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope this video helped you and blessed you, and you have a great rest of your day and a blessed rest of your week.